All right, everyone, I've just admitted everybody, and I can see so far we've got 22 people joining us. I'm just going to keep my waiting room window up in front of me in case I need to admit others as they come along. Welcome everybody to the Financial Services Masterclass for 3 p.m. Friday afternoon. We're going to do our very best to make this interesting and engaging, given it is a Friday afternoon. I'll start by introducing myself and acknowledging country. My name's Jess Bolger. I'm Wiradjuri. I come from Tumut and Brungle in country New South Wales, and I am at CareerTrackers. My role is Director of Engagement. I come to you from Redfern, Gadigal country, and I want to acknowledge the traditional owners and pay my respects to their elders, past and present and emerging, and acknowledge the knowledge that is embedded forever in the custodianship and care of land. And I also pay my respects to my elders, because their resilience and sacrifice is what's paved my path to opportunity. What I would like you guys to do as we start out is include into the chat box, if you can, where you are from and where you are, because some of us, like me, I live and work off country, and I always acknowledge that, because I'm here in beautiful and historic Redfern on Gadigal land. I'm still pressing admit all. All right, so today we are joined by Emma Guest, who's a senior advisor, and Emma's going to introduce herself in just a moment. And we're also joined by Ben Eisikovich, who's a CareerTrackers alumni, finance manager at Westpac, and Justin Wong, who is a senior manager in the Treasury at Lendlease. And so we're going to host a conversation this afternoon. We've got 25 people now, and what I'll also ask you guys to do is, unless you've got sort of an internet issue or something like that, don't be afraid to put your camera on. It can be quite lonely without nods and smiles for the folks that are talking, so really happy for you to have your cameras on. And because we're a small group, we're going to use the chat function to put through questions, but if our group stays pretty small, when we pause for questions, I don't think it's a concern for you to pop yourself off mute and ask a question if you want to do that as well, because we're quite a small group. But I'll get Emma to introduce herself, and I think, Em, you've got some housekeeping notes as well, and then we'll go through to Ben and then Justin.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Jess. So, hi everyone. Like Jess said, my name's Emma Guest. I am a senior advisor with CareerTrackers, and so I am originally from Narrabri, which is Kamilaroi land in New South Wales, but I now live in Brisbane on Turrbal and Yagara land. So I've been with CareerTrackers for 4 years, and in my role as a senior advisor, I've had the opportunity to work really closely with our students in Queensland and the Northern Territory, but also our companies and our uni partners. I'm really excited about this masterclass because I know so many of our students are, building their careers in the industry, and these sessions can be so valuable. So, soak it in. And like Jess said, a few housekeeping things. I will be sort of managing the chat function. And so please, pop your questions in there. Alternatively, I'll put my phone number in there if you want to text me your questions and I can read them out. Or like Jess said, take yourself off mute and, get involved. Awesome. That's me.
Cool. Hey everyone, I was just flicking through just then. Nice to see a few of you putting in into the chat. So Ben, Kamilaroi man, but was born in Paddington, so Gadigal land. Currently sitting on the beautiful Gadigal country as well. As you can tell, the Crown Casino being built behind me. And I was one of the early ones in CareerTrackers. I finished my part of the program in 2014. So not too old, but definitely been around the track for a while. And happy you can join us today. Just give you a bit of insight into finance and accounting and dispel any myths that you may have been told. So we'll talk soon.
Hi, my name's Justin Wong. I'm originally from Malaysia, so a very new Australian, and always very happy for the Indigenous communities to welcome me into their country. I am a senior treasury manager in Lendlease. So I guess this masterclass is about the financial services. We are what you would be typically called the end user of a financial services, because I work in a corporate, but I'll probably go through that towards later down the track. So welcome everyone.
Thanks, Justin. And let's start, we'll go to you first, Ben, but I just might do a bit on the agenda and things that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about a few key themes, and if you've been to any of the other masterclasses, you'll see that there's a bit of consistency here, which is a good thing. What we're going to talk about is why this profession is important, and specifically we'll also get Ben in particular to talk about where this profession is important for Indigenous people and communities. We'll also talk about barriers to success, we'll talk about ingredients for excellence, and we'll talk about how you can accelerate your success. And we're going to move through pretty quickly on those topics. I'm hoping to use maybe 35 or 40 minutes on those topics, because I want to leave a lot of time for your questions. But where we'll start is we'll go to you, Ben, and just tell us about your pathway to university and through uni, and how you got your first job and what it was.
Yeah, perfect. And guys, yeah, be active in the chat just before I start. This session's for you. So yeah, leverage Justin and myself in this session to answer any questions you might have. So for me, I actually wasn't interested in business until year 10. I was very much a woodwork, metalwork kind of person. I enjoyed that at high school. It wasn't until I sat down with mum, it's just me and mum that have been down here, and she sort of said, you know, you need to think about career and what you can sort of do, and you know, as much as wood and timber were exciting, are they something that you could provide later in the track? And so I gave commerce a go, and I had a really amazing commerce teacher, which I was blessed to have at high school. So he always came in a suit, he was quite sharp, you know, he had X sort of business experience, so it gave me like an insight into the industry, and that made me excited. So I was like, I'm gonna pursue that. So I sort of intended on doing that. Went through UNSW and Narragansett pre-programs to get a feel of what uni's like, and through admission as well. And into uni, finance was what I wanted to do. So probably more around Justin's world with Treasury and sort of thinking around that type of space. But accounting sort of just fell hand in hand with finance while I was at uni. And as I learned a bit more about the language of accounting and what was possible with it, that's when I started getting a lot more excited and sort of into the shadows of it. So yeah, that's sort of my lead up into uni. I wasn't a maths whiz. You don't need to be for accounting. It's not like you need to do 3-4 unit maths, you know, as a lot of you may be aware. So but I just worked really hard. So just hard work and the concepts come through that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And we'll come back to you. I want you to talk in detail about the grad program and your different rotations and so on. But we might jump over to Justin here, because what I think is really interesting about the two of you is, Ben, you're in a bank, and Justin, you're not, but you both are very involved in the financial services industry. So Justin, can you tell us about what you do and the role that plays in financial services broadly?
Sure. So let me first start off by saying as well, I echo Ben's point. People from all kinds of backgrounds can end up in financial services. So my personal background was economics and law. After being a lawyer in sales and advertising, it finally fell into this space when I did my MBA. So, but what we actually do in the corporate space in Treasury is essentially we use the kind of services that Ben's bank would provide to us, but how we interact within the company is we ourselves think of ourselves as the internal bank for the company. So anything to do with cash, bank accounts, if we need to raise money for debt, the company will normally just come to us for help in that regard. As well, we manage the market risk. So in particular, what I do is I look after the interest rates as well as FX risk. I do a bit of everything, but my main focus is managing market risk and managing a team around that. In fact, I see that Josh Atherton is there. Hi, Josh, how are you? In fact, Josh actually spent some time doing an internship at our place. And so obviously, if Josh thinks what I say is bullshit, he'll call me out on it. So Josh, don't be afraid. Ask Josh if you guys have any questions as well. The other thing is as well, I love what I do because the market is always changing. So you're always constantly learning as well as adapting to the markets. Otherwise, you just get left behind. So hopefully that's just in a nutshell what I do.
Yeah, that's a great start. And I like how you talk about adapting because there's so much change there. And we'll come back. What we're going to do a little bit later is talk about all of you guys will know about the Career Trackers graduate attributes that you have in your learning contract. And so we're going to talk specifically about which of those Ben and Justin really feel resonate in their roles and in their careers. Mm-hmm. We'll come back to those. I'll go back to you, Ben. Can you tell me about the grad program and just for the students who are thinking, yeah, grad program might be my path as well. Can you talk about what the challenges or what the absolute highlights were in your grad program?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's the key thing. It's always grad program versus direct entry into a role, and you will have to decide because there's a lot of direct entry junior roles that are available these days. A grad program is amazing because you get to rotate through different areas of your organization. It's really important to build your networks in this space because it's not a large community in each company and in general. And so really having those networks is fundamental to your career and progression. It enables you to do things once you land that sort of dream job that newcomers to the company will just not have. So what it also does, and this is a really important highlight, is it gives you a hall pass effectively to go to senior leadership and ask questions. Leaders, managers, because they, you got your L's. Like, they were there. Everyone was in your position at one point or another. And so they want to be able to make time to help you grow. The second you lose the graduate title and you move into a senior analyst or whatever it is, that goes out the window. And you find very quickly that people only have time for you if you're working on something for them. So that's a really powerful thing to have, I think, is a free pass to people's diaries.
Yeah, that's great advice. And can we stay with you, Ben, and tell us what you love about what you do every day?
Yeah, so I think for me, there's two things I'd say I'm a storyteller. People go, that's a different concept. And for me, I'm also bringing some perspective into someone's eyes. And so, numbers don't mean anything unless you give them meaning and perspective. And so it's my responsibility to ensure that the leaders that run their businesses have the right information available to make decisions. And so part of that is crafting stories. And I think to have that skill set to be able to turn something that's just a digit into something with meaning is quite powerful and applies to many facets, not just within the company. So I'm excited about doing stuff like that. Today, just having meetings before, that's a ferry. Just having meetings before about, structures and helping the general manager. We've had a massive restructure in the bank, so helping them come up with some conceptual thinking. So they rely heavily on finance at the table. So that's what keeps me excited.
Yeah, awesome. And Justin, can you talk to these guys about how you've made transitions between different industries? Because you're in construction now, you're in Lendlease, but tell us about, how you've made decisions and what the differences are when you've worked in different industries.
Sure. I think just following on from Ben's point, one thing to remember about the grad program as well is like yes, you've got into this grad program of your dreams or whatever, and it's good, but just be proactive. Just pick kind of like the department or the role that you want in that organization and treat your grad program as like a 2-year or 3-year interview program. So you do all you can to just make a good impression, advocate, reach out to the people in those teams that you want to get into, and just, it's an interview process, because ultimately the grad is just what the first part of your entry into that organization. So that's probably what I would say. In terms of how I have moved on to different industries, I guess the main thing for me was always, when in my previous jobs, like I said, I was a lawyer, I was a consultant, and then I was in sales and marketing and advertising. The question for me was, did I want my boss's job? And, for those previous roles, I never got to the stage you go, oh, you know what, I love to be my boss, or I love to be my boss's boss. Like, it just never appealed to me. And so that's when I knew that job wasn't really right for me. So maybe, you career trackers, I know you folks are really, really like go-getters, A-types, you know what you want. Whereas I was probably the opposite. Like, I really fumbled and experimented all throughout my early 20s, and it's only after I did my MBA that I did finance for a couple of my subjects, and go, man, this is it. This is the one that I want to get into. So you slowly kind of like work yourself through, and one of the best ways to do that is just to have a very good network, just to meet as many people as you can from all kinds of industries, all levels. That's really how you kind of like, I think, differentiate yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Just what I've got up now is just the 4 themes that we're going to talk about, and we've started to go into some of these already, which is great. But I just want to start with the theme of why is this profession important, and we've gotten to it a little bit already in what you guys have shared so far. But I want you to talk now broadly about why this profession is important, and what role it plays in society. Open to either of you guys.
Ben, I'm happy to take that first if you like. Yeah. So why is financial services important, right? So basically you need money, right? As long as there's interaction between strangers. Otherwise, society will not function properly. Like, for example, if I need some butter and I've got some carpentry skills to provide, but I need someone to buy butter from who just happens to need carpentry skills. So if you don't have money, it just makes that a bit more difficult. Money is just a medium of exchange. So that's why, you need money, right? As long as there's a society, actively functioning society. And as long as people need to buy and sell things to each other, there will be a market. So financial services is just a market for financial products, i.e. money, foreign exchange, commodities, interest rates, shares of markets. So that's why it's important, because it's really the glue and the liquid that kind of keeps things together. That's my view of why financial services is so important.
Yeah, that's a great start.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly to Justin's point, it's the flow of money, the flow of resources around the economy. So I think of COVID, banking in my field's been, quite big to, help provide some stimulus and alleviation. You hear things like the Reserve Bank and all of those things tie into it, but probably more fundamentally, like finance and accounting as well in particular, like I was saying with that language, when you go to pick up a book and read a novel or read a biography or a story, those sets of accounts, albeit their numbers, they have messaging in there too if you ever read them. But that is the story of that company. That is the lifeline and blood of that company and how it's going. And so we play a role in crafting that story. We play a role in helping others understand what the company's doing and how it's performing. So if I look at the technical side, that's that. And the Justin side with Treasury and sort of finance, that's both of them together is really important for the economy.
Yeah, and just to show how important and how, I guess, how embedded it is into society, right? So new companies come and go, for example, who knows how long Apple will be here for, who knows how long, JB Hi-Fi will be here for. But if you walk down Martin Place in Sydney, look at all those old buildings, they're just banks, right? Like they're old banks. So it just shows like banks have been there forever, just because people needed a form of money, a form of exchange, and it'll be there for as long as society needs to interact, either through Bitcoin or whatever. But we need some kind of exchange, and yeah, that's why it's that important.
And Ben, can you talk to these guys about how the finance industry is important and what the opportunities are for our people, for mob? What are the things you're seeing through your career?
So for me, huge opportunity in this space. No one's ever looked at finance and accounting in mob and gone, that's exciting, or that's going to do anything for the community. The biggest area I think of, and you guys should also think about, is like, well, we've been receiving a lot of royalties from mining. We've been, getting trusts into the corporations, and mining is going to come to an end at some point. It's not always going to be there, and so, if you understand finance and accounting, you can help guide your community to invest that into more sustainable items. We could be getting the engineers to build things. We could be funding those things if we had the expertise. And so, unfortunately, we haven't had it because we never thought it was a possibility for us, but it is now. And so you guys sort of being interested in this space or wanting to be in this space, you can be the early adopters and the crafters and really take this knowledge back to community and actually leverage it to expand it. It's hugely powerful. Business influences politics, which is what Michael sort of said when we had our LDI down in Melbourne, and you can see that through how some of the politicians respond to business initiatives. So yeah, again, understanding sort of that and leveraging that, it can really help with community. So that's where I see the value.
Yeah, and that's a really great, broad societal point. Talk to us about a bit more individually, Ben. Are you the financial planner for everyone in your family? Are you, are you the entrepreneur? Are you telling people how to set up businesses?
Yeah, that's the first thing when I got my CA was everyone thought I'd be doing their tax. Just a disclaimer, that does not mean I can do your tax. I need to do extra studies for that. So yeah, I've had families and friends going, yeah, do your tax. No. Look, I'm not, I'm not the best. I'm not a financial planner, but what I am showing is I'm one of the first to go through this piece, but I'm just showing them the possibilities of simplifying the language a little bit and what we can do. And I'm getting people excited about that. So it's like, yes, there's some technical concepts that are hard, but at the end of the day, it's actually quite simple to manage things, to start thinking about money, to start thinking about growing a business or starting a business. So, finance and accounting gives you that broad skill set to know how businesses work. So yeah, it's just me being able to talk to people and give them a bit of confidence. And, I've had a few friends go and set up an ABN. It's free to do. You don't have to pay for it if it's under your name. So just little things like that people weren't aware of. So I'm just trying to be like a knowledge broker of this industry. And I'd say that's what I'm doing on an individual level.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to such a great point about the value of the peer network that is the CareerTrackers alumni. Because you're now building colleagues, but friendships who are folks that have also got professional roles and are building real knowledge in different industries, and you can pull each other up and share together. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about barriers. Tell us what the hardest part of your job is, or what do you just hate? We'll give you a rest, Ben. We'll go back to Justin. Tell us, maybe even if you've got a story about when you thought, no, this isn't for me, I might try something else.
Sure. Before I go on, do you mind, just in terms of why I think the profession is important to the Indigenous community as well. Despite, I totally agree with what Ben said, it's very important. Everyone should have good access to financial services. But another big part of it is, and I'm so glad there's quite a bit of interest in this particular financial services masterclass, is you want representation, right? So the more of one community that's in that industry, the better, because you want representation. You want someone who looks like you on TV or the movie, So it's good, like if you go into a meeting room and you see like you're not the only gender that's there, you're not the only nationality, you're not the only religion or sexual orientation. So it's just the more from the community that can get into the industry, the better. But back to your point there, Jess, as to what's the hardest part of my job. So given the size and complexity of our company requirements, it's just having a robust process to ensure that the risks are managed properly and that no mistakes are made. But having said that, it is difficult as well, because at the same time you do want decisions to be made quickly and in an agile way. So it's a very fine line between following a process and being able to make decisions quickly. So that's probably one of the hardest part of my job. The other thing that's really important as well, and Josh probably knows all about this. In Lendlease, it's stakeholder engagement is also very important. It's just selling your ideas, keeping senior management updated. Ideally, from a senior management point of view, it's like the message we want to give them is nothing to worry about, everything is under control, nothing to see here. So that's, if we've done that, then we've done our job well.
Yeah. And I like how you've touched on the relationship management of your role, and that is a big part of financial services. I think sometimes that's one of those myths, that the financial guys are sort of, squirreling away and that's what they do, and you don't have to, be a good relationship builder or be charismatic, or, I think that's, sort of like that math nerd bit of a myth.
Yeah.
Definitely busting there, that relationship building is really key.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good segue. We'll also want to talk about ingredients for success, and I got these guys to have a look at the graduate attributes, and I was making a bit of a joke before. Students that know me will know that I just sort of do my own thing, and I actually said to Ben and Justin, no, we've got to look at this, and I really want to share what the skills are that are relevant in your industry, that are resonating with you, because we want the students to get this, this really important information around specific skills that you're seeing resonate in your industry. And it's also good to have this consistency across all of these masterclasses, because particularly if you're a student doing a double degree, or perhaps you're doing business and finance, but you're also interested in law or in something else, you can see which skills actually overlap the professions you're interested in. So why don't you guys tell us about the skills that are really important in your industry?
Over to you, Ben. Why don't you start?
All right, I'll start. I think, actually, to be honest, this is a good reflection time, because it's quite turbulent with COVID and just sort of structural changes. So being really flexible, you can't be fixed. No business is stationary. It's always evolving. It's always moving. So with that, there has to be some level of flexibility in your thinking. Always willing to learn, always willing to adjust. You don't just finish your degree and then, magic, it's all done in life. There's no more learning. No, there's continued life learning. It always happens. I think, that's a really important one for life and for the profession. And probably off the back of that is resilience. Interfacing with change constantly. You might do a pack, and so Steph's on the call, she'll attest to this, but you do a pack, you give it to the manager and they go, nah, that's not good, and then you got to go back and redo the whole thing, or you got to make a change or iteration. So you just got to be resilient in that thinking and sort of push through multiple iterations of it. So they're probably my top two.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I think for me, the technical skills are given, like certainly at the start of a career, you got to be able to set priorities. You got to have attention to details. You got to be, good at what you do technically. That's a given, right? And please focus on that, like at the early part of your career. But as you gradually move up the ladder, the people side of things get to be more and more important, because you're relying on people to do your work. You're relying on senior management to support you, kind of thing. So I think these are the ones that I believe make you stand apart. Developing relationships, because it's easier to get things done if people respect you, and certainly if they like you, that really helps to get things done quicker, and certainly you can cut corners as well in terms of the hierarchy within an organization. If people like you, somehow your email gets to be the top of the inbox. So Ben, right, you probably agree with this. And then professionalism as well, communicating with courtesy and professionalism, I think is also very important. And this goes hand in hand with reading the room. So for example, Ben and I, we were like, "Hey, Benno, how's it going? Yeah. Do you like the foodie?" We can be like this when we're in the kitchen or whatever. But when you're in a formal setting, like in a meeting room, you got to be professional. So yeah, I think the people side just gets more and more important the more into your career you are.
Yeah, that's really important. I think Justin really paints that picture for you guys, and I hope you're paying attention to that one, because they were diamonds of information there in regards to the technical stuff you need to master at the beginning. I agree. Yeah. But these people things, if you think about it, if you can also bring some of those elements into your development early, you'll be able to just spring faster, and that means promotions quicker. So if you're working with executives quicker and sooner, and they go, "Oh, that Ben or that Justin, they're just constantly delivering," bang, it will supercharge your career. So I hope you're paying attention to what Justin was saying there. Really, really crucial.
Yeah, awesome. And we're about halfway through now, and we've just been having such a great conversation. I haven't paused for questions. I don't see any coming through in the chat, but it's probably my bad for not inviting that. Guys, we're a group of about 30 students here, so I'm not opposed to you taking yourself off mute to ask a question. You can also type one if you would like, and I'll have Emma jump in and give us any of the questions that are coming through in the chat. Although I see there now, Nathan, you can share one just by telling it to Ben and Justin, and we'll do questions for a little while, and then we'll round out the session with that last topic of accelerating success. But why don't you fire away, Nathan, and give us your question?
So my question is can you tell us a little bit more, Justin particularly, and Ben, about the areas that you touch on? Because for me, when I listen to you talk, I think of buildings. Everyone probably just thinks of building stuff and what money means there. But recently, in the Internet of Things, I've read a lot of insurance reports and been interested, probably not previously to COVID, in the trade liabilities risks market. The construction industry has a lot of automation. So perhaps the question is with the Internet of Things, what are the sort of market risks that you're considering in your finance department for cyber risks? The more automation we have, the more in terms of the Internet of Things.
Yeah, no, thanks, Nathan. That's a very interesting one, because yes, you do have this I guess two sides to a coin, right? It's great when everything's automated and everything's linked through the internet, but then because you have that as well, you are opening up yourself to cyber risk. So, for example, in Lendlease, we do take our cybersecurity very, very seriously. And in fact, Nathan, you're probably aware of the statistics, right? You could have the best firewall in the world, right? A bit like the Great Wall of China. You could have the best firewall in the world, but which is the downfall of the Great Wall of China as well. What happened? They bribed the guards and they just let the Mongolians in. So same thing in a company. You could have the best firewall in the world, but you have employees who accidentally click on an email or they open up an attachment and things just your system get infected. So in fact, I don't think we're the only ones. We do actually have tests where from IT where they will send out a phishing email or whatever. Oh, it's from Jess Boucher, and then you click on it, but it's actually Jess Boucher at dodgyinternet.com, virus.com kind of thing. So we do that as well. And unfortunately, I was actually phished once. So I have failed, and I actually had IT call me up. And funny enough, Ben, I can see you laughing. I actually thought the call from IT was a phisher, was actually a scammer. So it just didn't go down too well. But yes, Nathan, it is a big issue, and I think most companies, certainly most sophisticated companies, are taking it very seriously. I know Westpac is for starters. So.
Yeah, I echo that. And just to give you perspective, we have a thing called the NOC, which is a National Operations Center, and they're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're like, it's literally like your DEFCON sort of one type thing where they've got TV screens across the whole network, and they show us instances where like global events happen and they're starting to ping the website to try and crash it. So they like take Trojans and computers to try and crash our website or crash the ATM network. And so, yeah, we have guys that respond to that immediately. And yeah, like Justin said, phishing scams, but probably even data privacy. So open banking, you might have seen in the news, has landed now, which effectively allows fintech companies, and I downloaded this the other day, like Pocketbook, to gain access to your bank account to give you analytics about your spend. And people are quite concerned about data security there, but they have to do a lot of reporting to the ACCC, and they run military grade encryptions, and so the data's quite secure in terms of what they run, and there's regular reporting around that. So yeah, I mean, but like Justin said, there could be a flaw in anything. It happens to Facebooks, it happens to things, but that's just the sort of trust you got to take with the company that's behind it, and if something goes wrong, you work from there.
Yeah, and I guess, Nathan, I guess the other side of the coin is like, what is the cost for not being, for not using the internet, right? You get left behind. So yeah, it's two sides to everything. Does that answer your question, Nathan?
Yeah, and I guess the other part of the question was like sort of, okay, well, that's what it looks like at work, but the other side was what other roles does, considering the Internet of Things, what other roles does your role touch, like that the students and myself could sort of have some insight into, like financial risk is, different.
Oh yeah, sure. So yes, so for example, like if you want a bit more specific as to what I actually do, so the thing that I do spend a lot of time on is the interest rate risk. So for example, when we borrow debt, one thing you can do is most of our debt is the debt itself has what we call a floating rate debt. So it's BBSY, which is the floating rate reference rate and plus a margin. And what we can do is we do make decisions as to how much of that you can fix via a swap. So for example, then you can lock it in the BBSY for the next 5 years at currently is probably at 0.4% or something like that. So that's one of the things we do. When and how much should we fix that? And then the other one, which is, because as you can see, the thing that's behind Ben, that's the Crown Resort. So we don't own it, but we help to build it. So for some stuff like that, a lot of the glass that you see are imported from overseas. And so that really depends on how much the Aussie is. So for example, if we think that the Aussie dollar is going to come down, so we have to hedge that by locking in the Aussie rates as well. So those are the two main things that we look at. But obviously we look at our share price as well, because we have to pay our bosses sometimes in shares in 3 years' time. So we want to kind of lock in the share price today as well, hopefully at a lower point, so that by the time we give it to the senior management, it's, we have bought the shares at a cheaper price. And the other thing as well that we kind of look at as well is because of the things that's behind Ben, the steel. As you know, steel and commodities has got its own pricing as well. It's a commodity. So we look at hedging that as well. So those are probably like the four main things that we look at. We've even looked at, sorry if this is getting a bit boring for everyone in the room, but there's other stuff that we kind of looked at as well, which I thought was probably the most interesting for me. When you are working on a huge project like that, you are open up to the weather, right? So when it rains, for some of our projects, so one day of rain could cost us, $100,000 a day, or sometimes even $500,000 a day. So we can actually enter into a weather swap. So i.e., you swap in the number of rainy days you have in a day with an insurance company. So those are some of the funky stuff that we look at, Nathan.
Can I just say two quick things on that? So firstly, if you're concerned about automation taking over accounting roles, that's way out of the pipeline. That's still a long way away. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. If you are concerned, get really tight on the people element, because that part of the role anywhere. So automation is just going to make your job easier, and it's more about conveying the message, because robots aren't that sophisticated just yet. And number two is finance knows no language and knows no industry specifically, right? Numbers are numbers, and it's how you apply them. So I can go, I interned at CPB Contractors, which is Lendlease's competitor in project finance, but now I'm working at a bank. So you can work in insurance, you can work at a bank, you can work in health, you can work in community if you know finance. So it's not a limiting thing to just a bank, or just you can set your own company up if you want and run that. So I think they're the two quick things just on automation and where finance can take you. I obviously don't want to derail, because I know Christian and Stuart have questions, and we still got to touch on the last one, but hopefully that gives you a bit more nation. And
that is a really good point there, Ben, because even before AI, right, in terms of automation, you for data entry, simple data kind of mining stuff, you already can get people to do it cheaper in India, in the Philippines, in Indonesia. So those days are already here. AI will obviously make it much more widespread, but to Ben's point, and that's why the people skills are important. If you're proactive, if you can come up with insights that hopefully before AI can, and if you can manage people and you are good with people, you will come a long way ahead.
That's great advice. Thanks, Justin and Ben. So Christian, will throw to you now for your question, and then to Stuart after that.
Cool. Hey guys, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Probably this question might get covered in the next topic, but just in case it didn't, I just wanted to ask both your opinions on what you think would be like, what would make us a more competitive graduate? Like, what can we do now to make us a more competitive graduate? Or is it just study hard, get good grades?
Ben, you want first, since
I'll take that. So look, it's not just about studying hard and good grades. That's part of the puzzle, but what they say is you can pretty much take someone off the street and try and train them to do a particular task. What you bring is your personality to the role, your lived experience. And you might go, I'm young, I haven't got much. Well, you actually might have the lived experience if you reflect on it properly. So I'd say, if you're involved in things, you're involved in community events, you're involved in outside, you're involved in sport, bring all that in, because you're a rounded individual and you're you, man. So that's really important. Grades, they sort of go anything credit above is what they look for, usually as a first barrier. But after that, it becomes all like personality and, the type of examples you can give in a role. So just get out there, experience some different things. That will really help you. So, study, yes, is important, absolutely, but just be a bit more rounded and look for opportunities that give you some different experience.
Beautiful, thank you.
No, yeah, absolutely, Ben. This is a bit of a hard one for me, because I know you folks are studying hard and you actually need to have a life. You should be, having fun as well. But then, having said that, to Ben's point, the way to get in is yes, you probably need to be in the place where you want to be, I guess. So would that be via an internship, which is what Josh did? Or do you want to kind of have a rough idea as to where you want to get into, and then probably just try and meet the people there And if you can't do it physically, I mean, the beauty about these days is, you know, you get social media, right? So if you have a couple of people that you are interested in, you know, the titans of the industries that you want to be involved in, and you know, they make comments. So kiss their ass, you know, like make comments on their comments, like, you know, and make a lot of comments when they put posts up and stuff, and then they go, oh, who's this Stuart guy? You know, why is he always making comments on my posts? You know, so there's a lot of way to actually reach out to people. But having said that, people, I was young once. It is nice to sometimes just to forget about these things and actually have fun, you know. So you're young when you want. So it's a tough balance.
Thank you very much, guys.
That's great. So we'll move on now to Stuart.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was Stuart. My bad.
That's okay, Justin. Thanks, Ben, for joining us. Just wanted to touch base. You touched on earlier, Justin, in regards to currency. Where do you see now that we're moving away from a cash-based economy and possibly into incorporating cryptocurrencies into our banking? Do you see crypto taking over, or do you see that more pay wage, succinct sort of basis of finance?
Okay, so Stuart, I'm no technologist, so I got I'm no expert, so I don't want to say. This is just my personal view. I think cryptocurrency will have a place somehow. I don't know how big of a part in international finance it will be, but as long as there's going to be national governments and there's going to be national central banks and stuff, it's very unlikely that, say for example, the Australian government is going to let go of the Aussie dollar, or that the US government is going to let go of the US dollar. It's just that there is some part of the political aspect to it as well. So I can't say, but you're absolutely right. I think in future, certainly the more seamless type stuff, internet commerce or something, we probably will get more and more into cryptocurrency. And for full disclosure, I don't own any cryptocurrency, so I can't really say much about it either.
Yeah, I'd just echo that slightly. I mean, they would say cash is king. I think it's a while before we get to cryptos. It may come eventually, but I'm not foreseeing anything in the next decade. And look, let's be real, we're in the middle of a recession, and the global economy is going to take a long time to pull back from this one. We don't know what it looks like just yet. And so to be throwing in a change in how currency works in the middle of all that, it just wouldn't happen. So you're guaranteed, a 5-year pipeline at the minimum there. And that's, that was if things were escalating quickly. So I don't think it's going to come around soon, but it's definitely on the radar. And
I appreciate that, Ben. And just obviously we're moving away from that cash-based economy. What's probably the biggest change from technology point of view as well.
Yeah, and Stuart, so probably the other thing I want to add as well, right? So for example, ISIS or Taliban or whatever, right? They might disagree with capitalism, the US capitalism. They might disagree with their politics, but the one thing they still believe in is the US dollar. So wherever they go, they will want the US dollar. So it just goes to show, at the end of the day, how important these currencies are as well. So.
That's great. So what we'll do now is move on to this final kind of segment around accelerating your success. So Christian kind of started us off in this direction. Ben and Justin, talk to us about, we know the financial services industry is so diverse. So what do you do to continue your professional development and stay current?
I guess I do read a lot because to my point, the market's always changing. The other thing as well is always be open to other people's ideas, and just be open to ideas in general, just because whatever the strategy that you had 6 months ago or 2 years ago will change given the current market conditions. And the one big thing as well, which maybe, when this might apply to, when you're younger, certainly when I was younger, I always try to be the smartest guy in the room, and just realize that you never try not to be the smartest guy in the room. Actually try to be the least smart, because then you can learn from everyone else. And even if you are the smartest guy in the room, say for example, in accounting, you never be the smartest guy for tax or for architecture or for engineering. So always have an open mind, and I guess that's how I kind of like just go with the flow, I guess, and always be under the assumption that I don't know everything.
Yeah, that's great. Hungry to learn. Ben, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd probably just say deliver when the opportunity is presented to you. So, opportunities may come, they definitely come and go, but when it lands, that is your priority, and you need to do whatever you have to do to make it happen. So a classic example for me, a project comes up at work, it's pretty big, it's on sort of resourcing, and they said, we're not sure it's possible, can you run something? I work a week, I probably do 60 to 70 hours in that week, and now they're using that reporting, and now they go, that guy can deliver something because I put the work out. So there'll be times in your career and through uni where you need to ramp up significantly. And so I just say, make sure you always take those opportunities. And when someone presents you with an opportunity, that's your ticket. So take that and go with it. Don't go, it's more work, because you've got an opportunity to impress that stakeholder, and you don't know what happens in the shadows of conversations and between people. So if your name starts getting thrown up in conversations, that's a good thing for you.
Actually, very good point. Another thing to add, following on from that as well, is try to be as often as possible to be out of your comfort zone. So whenever you take on a new project, you should always be a bit nervous as to whether you can actually get it done. So try to be always out of your comfort zone where you can.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Justin. And it brings us, right back to the beginning when you were both talking about the opportunity that you have as an intern or as a new graduate. It's a license to ask anybody any questions, and people will view you very differently in an organization because you have that, I think, Ben, you said it's like a ticket. You have that that brand that, you are the up and coming leaders of the organization if you put your head down and work hard and build the right relationships, and people appreciate that and want to teach and want to share. So, it's a really, I think, bringing us home there is a really good message about, that accelerating your success is about taking opportunity and about giving it your best, particularly in those early days when building the technical skill is really important, but of course how you interact with others is also really key. We are coming to almost the end of our hour together. I want to take a final chance to open for questions. We can probably fit one or two more in. If you have a question, you're welcome to take yourself off mute and speak up. I'll pause now to see if there are any final questions. Otherwise, we'll thank these guys and finish. Any final questions?
I just have one.
Go for it.
Are we able to connect with you guys on LinkedIn and ask any questions we have just for future reference, or?
Funny enough, Jess and Emma and I were just speaking about this before the call. Yes, absolutely. Connect, hook up with me on LinkedIn, or if you want, just reach out to Jess and Emma directly. I'm more than happy for them to give you my email address and phone number too. So absolutely.
Yeah, same. I'm happy with either. If you're gonna go through LinkedIn, just say that you were on this call.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I get some students add me, and I'm like, I'm not sure if you want to connect. They don't say anything. So actually, make sure when you're connecting with people and you want to connect, to say, I'm interested in the industry. I'd like to stay connected to keep up to date. That would be nice, rather than just sending a request and I'm like, do I know you?
Yes. Try not to send me credit cards or new electricity plan, and you'll be fine.
I'd just like to say that I would never try and fish you from your example.
That's right. That's right.
That's a really great place to finish. And Emily, I'll hand over to you if I can, please.
Yeah. So on behalf of everyone here, I would just like to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to share so much knowledge about what you have with the finance industry, and for your graduate tips as well, like myself, because I'll actually be heading into the finance industry next year.
Awesome.
So I really wanted to come to this session and learn a lot from it. So thank you.
Awesome. Good luck, Emily.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. I'll just give a final thanks and then bid you all good afternoon. Thanks again, Ben and Justin. You know, the work that we do at Career Trackers, it's powerful, but it is very, very much influenced by the people we are good friends with, who will jump in and help out with things like this. Because while we create an opportunity and we look after you guys and we help out managers along the way, it's the sharing of knowledge and intellect from our industry experts in opportunities like this that really, really builds the value of the program. And thanks, Emily, for your words. I can see that you really do see that, and I hope that just seeing all of the thank you messages coming through in the chat, it's certainly shared by all of the interns. So thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your program day sessions. I'll see you on a few of them for the rest of the sessions. Yeah, really enjoy the winter internship, and we'll see you all. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you all in person at LDI, if COVID lets us. Yeah, Ben, me too. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy.
Thanks. Bye.